one-make series racing is nothing new to motorsport and Amaroo Park in particular. However, the current Nissan Turbo Series has enjoyed unparalleled credibility because of the drivers involved and the stakes, which are incredibly high. $25,000 in total prize money and a new Nissan Skyline. The drivers draw for the cars they will race and their starting positions at each round. If one Nissan is slightly better, well, the luck is spread around throughout the series. The competition got underway at Sydney's Amaroo Park earlier this year with writer racer Peter McKay charging from the front line to edge out a fast-finishing Allan Grice. Heat 2, a reverse grid, and Queensland's Dick Johnson was to take some stopping. There was plenty of traffic congestion, but Dick was just too quick. The series moved to Adelaide next, and the spectators were treated to some spectacular pitching and twitching at the end of the long straight. Nissan executives might have been all smiles with such a clean opening to the event, but Garry Rogers soon changed their expressions when he turret tested the 10 Turbo on the reverse camber approach to the bowl. To his and the car's credit, they motored on to the finish in the event, which was won by George Fury. Grice came back to take Heat 4, but at the end of the day, Bond had taken the series lead with consistency. Was the next stop for the one-make tournament, and Grice became the first back-to-back winner, taking Heat 5 and then turning in a blinder from the back in Heat 6. Open wheeler ace John Bowe led them to the flag, but Grice had the lead on the points table, 132 to Bowe's 125, Bond 122 and George Fury on 120. From Keilor, it was back to Sydney's Amaroo Park for the next round of the tournament, and once again it was local Allan Grice who was expected to dominate. However, Queensland's Dick Johnson sprung a surprise when he went to the lead in the first heat with John Bowe, Garry Rogers and George Fury in hot pursuit. Grice had it all to do from near the back of the field, but clawed his way into the top 5. The second heat saw the usual jockeying for positions in the opening lap before Colin Bond made his move for the lead. Jim Richards, slow to start in the series because of an unfortunate draw in the opening races, was at his competitive best at Amaroo Park. He sat in behind Bond and resisted every attempt by Gary Scott to improve his position. Grice once again had to do it the hard way through the traffic, but he displaced Steve Masterton in the final lap to finish a strong fourth. The Nissan door handle set last weekend returned to Adelaide International Raceway. The climate might have been cold, but the racing was just the opposite. Rainmaster Richards must have been praying for the clouds to open, but the web-footed Kiwi was equally at home in the dry. Len Seton was the first casualty when he rode his car into an earth bank, and one Nissan was missing from the field. George Fury took Richards for the lead while Garry Rogers picked up third. It was a day of drama for the one-make series. Richards took Heat 2 over Fury and Scott, and the little cars moved to Amaroo Park today. The point score looks like this. Fury at the top of the leaderboard on 211 to Allan Grice 204, Richards on 203, Dick Johnson next on 199 and Colin Bond at 197.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon and welcome to Amaroo Park and a big afternoon's motorsport for us this afternoon. Some 3 hours, kicking off with Heat 1, Round 6 of the Nissan Turbo Super Challenge. You can see there Colin Bond in the little ET Turbo standing by and readying himself for the 6 laps around the 2 kilometre odd Amaroo Park course. Dick Johnson, who will be competing in today's Round 9 of the Australian Touring Car Championship, sitting there in car number 7. He's drawn car 7 in this event, and this series now really moving towards a very interesting conclusion in a couple of rounds' time. They'll go to their final round, of course, at Calder later this year. $25,000 in total prize money up for grabs, and they are really playing for keeps. And Michael, just last weekend at the last round of this series, it was on for young and old.
Certainly was, Neil. I think by the time Fred Gibson and the Nissan team have managed to straighten out a few of the panels that were creased rather than caressed, we're going to have another interesting round of it here today. However, as we go through the line, John Bowe in car number 1. We'll be starting from position 1 in, of course, the first heat. We'll be showing you both heats this afternoon in the 7's exclusive telecast of the Australian Touring Car Championships. Round 9, there's Fred Gibson, Nissan team manager. And I think he would have certainly spent a lot of time this week supervising the mechanics and the body men to straighten out the Nissans after the Adelaide connection last weekend.
Yeah, just 7 days to get all these cars up and running again, a dozen of them in total. And as we've mentioned before, all in pretty well stock standard trim. They have a roll bar and a safety harness. They've got the exhaust plumbed out the side of the car, standard radial tyres. As we look there at Peter McKay, well-known motoring journalist behind him, Allan, Grice, the man who is second in this series at the moment with 204 points. In fact, he's behind George Fury, the Nissan Works driver, with 211 points. There's Garry Scott down from Queensland, whom we've seen in the Armstrong Nissan competing in the Sports Sedan series in the last couple of meetings. Garry at present is back in around about 7th or 8th with 175 points, and the man who leads the Australian Touring Car Championship, drawn car number 6 in the Nissan Challenge. And Richards, in fact, has moved up to 3rd place in this series with a total of 203 points. He, in fact, shared a win last weekend in Adelaide with Allan Grice. So a little sample of the field to be competing. So it's going to be very, very interesting. John Bowe, of course, has been performing very strongly. He's dropped back a little bit in points, though, in this last couple of rounds, and now has about 195 points, just 2 behind Colin Bond. So as they prepare to come out of the pit lane, we might have a look at the way they'll line up now for this first of the 2 heats that we'll be covering this afternoon. And from position number 1, John Bowe has drawn the number 1 car. Alongside him, George Fury. On the 2nd row of the grid, Peter McKay alongside Allan Grice. The 3rd row of the grid, Garry Scott from Queensland, sharing with Australian Touring Car Championship leader Jim Richards. Behind him, Dick Johnson, car number 7. Alongside him, an arch rival from way back, Colin Bond. Row 5 consists of Gary Rogers and the young Glenn Seton. And rounding out the top dozen, Steve Masterton and rally champion Geoff Portman.
Tell you what, you can put the bird in Crompton, but it's a great view from up there in that balloon, and a great view of the crowd. By gee, they're packed in here today. Despite the weather, which certainly didn't look promising early today, it hasn't improved all that much either, but it hasn't stopped the people coming in for round 9 of the Touring Car Championship. They've also come out, I think, to see Kevin Bartlett in this De Tomaso Pantera that he's running in the Sports Sedan and GT race this afternoon, and it really is a very slick machine, as you'll see. And
they've probably come out to have a look at you, Wilco. In the last few weeks, you've been in canoes, helicopters, aeroplanes, racing cars. I mean, you're becoming a bit of an attraction at these meetings.
Talking about racing cars and Kevin Bartlett, as we just were, Bartlett held the outright lap record here for a long year until it was broken last meeting by John Bowe in a Formula Mondial car, and here's Johnny Bowe coming out on pole position in the Nissan Turbo, so it's a bit of a change of pace for him.
Indeed.
The first race, our Nissan race, running a couple of minutes late and getting underway due to car number 81 from the previous event, emitting in the Division 2 Sports Sedans, lost its hood in the approach to Dunlop Loop, so they've had the trucks go out and pick up the machine, and it's been brought back to the pit area now. So we should have the all clear and the Nissans out for the first of their 2 heats here this afternoon. Yes, as you mentioned before, very, very big crowd in attendance at Amaroo, biggest of the season for the Touring Car Championship. Amaroo, of course, an Aboriginal word, which means water over rocks.
We might get
and
some
I tell you,
of that.
we might get some this afternoon.
And talking again about the crowd, Mike, this augurs really well, I think, for the 300 Enduro coming up on August 4 here at Amaroo. The excitement in Group A racing that's been generated in its first full season in Australia in 1985 is really building to a fever pitch. The Touring Car Championship has set the scene and will continue to do so today here at Amaroo and at Oran Park next Sunday, and then of course gets set for the big Enduros commencing back here with the Breda Breaks 300 on August 4, and all leading up naturally to the James Hardy 1000 at Bathurst in October.
Well, the tender vehicle coming down through Honda Corner. Drivers are ready to come out onto the circuit now for the Nissan Super Challenge. Neil's already gone through the grid for you. An important day for Allan Grice, who has dominated the series for quite a number of rounds, and he's drawn exceptionally well in the first heat, starting from position 4 in car number 4. Knows this circuit very well, runs a driver educational school here at the circuit, so I don't think anyone knows the track better than Grice. Might have to put that to good use in the upcoming 6-lapper.
Then, of course, the grid positions will be changed around for the latter six-lapper. So if you start off the pole in Heat 1, you start off the back in Heat 2.
I just noticed driving out onto the track to take part in this race, Steve Masterton, and it's the only view we'll be getting of Steve today in the Nissan Turbo Series, because he's not running his Commodore in today's round of the Touring Car Championship. It is in pieces, in fact in the process of being rebuilt. They're so dissatisfied with the performance of the car in the rounds that they've run so far, and with a view to Bathurst coming up not too far from now, they've had the car right down to the last nut and bolt to do a major rebuild.
Well, hopefully we might be able to pick them up at our next telecast, of course, which is 1 week away, and that's round 10, the grand final, the Castrol final of the Australian Touring Car Championship from Sydney's Oran Park Raceway. In the meantime, cars coming through Camalco corner prior to lining up and taking the flag for the six-lapper. And the amount of prize money on offer for the Nissan series, I think it just about rivals every other series in Australian motorsport. Certainly a lot healthier.
I noticed this morning, Michael, the smiles gradually starting to disappear off the faces of some of these drivers as they think about the business end of this championship. As I said before, $25,000 in total prize money and a Nissan Skyline, $13,000 for second, $10,000 for third, $6,000 and $4,000 so on down the line. So it's a healthy reward. And John Bowe.
Any one of 6 drivers, I think, can still win it, can't they?
Yes, indeed. Well, there's 30 points up for a win in this one, 27 for second, 24 for third, and it goes right back down to 12th place.
So it's really
10 points.
Fury, Grice, Richards, Johnson, Bond and Bowe.
Indeed. 30 seconds now remaining prior to the start of our first heat in today's coverage, and 6 laps will be the total journey. On the front row, John Bowe, alongside him George Fury, and right behind Peter McKay and Allan Grice.
There's a lot of words went under the bridge there.
10 seconds away from the start of Heat 1 this afternoon of the Nissan Super Series from Sydney's Amaroo Park. Flag is down, and Bowe getting away very, very smartly indeed. Going with him is Fury on the outside, and Allan Grice moving up very, very quickly here on the outside of Peter McKay as they head up the hill for the first time. Garry Scott dropping in behind them, then Richards making the break. Johnson going with him too as they go to the top of Nissan and now drop into the right-hander.
Fury and Bowe, door handle to door handle.
Oh, there's one going through there on the inside. That looks like McKay. And Grice keeping the pressure on them too as they come out of that corner, heading down now towards Mazda for the first time. And
Grice has got up to second.
Yes, got through that corner very, very quickly indeed. So Grice with a few points to try and make up here today at Amaroo Park. Bowe, though, is your race leader as they come down to the left-hander for the first time with Grice in hot pursuit. Fury is the next one through, followed by McKay.
Garry Scott next has got a great start, but seemed to lose it going up over the top of the hill and didn't improve on his 5th spot off the starting line. And Bowe survived the early struggle with George Fury and now has to hold off Allan Grice.
Coming up for the completion of the first lap, 5 still to go, and across the line, Bowe the leader from Grice, Fury, McKay and Garry Scott, then Richards and Dick Johnson. Here's the pressure now. It's McKay at the top of the hill, still holds down third. Grice looking for the right approach here on John Bowe. And certainly the inside run coming down this part of the racetrack. Bowe using the width of the circuit, going all the way up, but starting to close the ground up now. And Grice will be through here very, very quickly if Bowe leaves the door open. Honda corner is the next one up. Grice sits in, tucks in, looks for a run down the outside. There was one almost up on 2 wheels that time.
Garry Scott.
And there's 2 that have got off on 1 wheel. Number 9 also with problems was Gary Rogers, and 11 joining him is Steve Masterton. Meanwhile, back in front, coming out of the lake corner, John Bowe resisting every attempt thrown at him so far by Allan Grice, Fury and McKay. That's the top 4. Across the line now for the completion of 2 laps and 4 to go.
Peter McKay does a pretty good job in these races, doesn't he? More than holds his own.
Excellent. Up Bitchapave Hill again. There's Allan Grice still stalking John Bowe in car number 1. And the racetrack that Grice puts more pressure on these youngsters that aren't so familiar with it through the turn and down towards Mazda corner again. Actually, that gap's open just a little bit. Bowe over Grice. And then quite a scrap going on for third.
And George Fury just barely hanging on to that third spot at the moment in the red and white car. John Bowe managing to hang on here quite nicely, and as you suggested before, Michael, that there's probably nobody out there who's as quick as Allan Grice in an ET Pulsar, having driven one of those cars around here for lap after lap in his advanced driving course.
Garry Scott giving Peter McKay a little nudge in the back as if to tell him to hurry up. He wants to go quicker. They'll all have to go a bit quicker if they want to reel in Bowe and Grice at the head of the field. George Fury still holding down third ahead of McKay, Scott, Bond.
It's Johnny Bowe and Grice looking good at the moment. Nothing too much has changed, although
There's McKay.
Yes, Dick's moving up as well. He was back with Richards and Bond a couple of laps back.
Here comes the 4, having the great scrap. Fury, McKay in there, Scott. And of course, Johnson making the move as well. Out of Dunlop Loop and down towards Mazda corner again. Nothing's changed up front. 2 leaders go through. Maybe Grice marginally closer this time to Bowe as they come down towards the left-hander at Honda corner. And then the second group comprising of those 4 cars. Oh, and they're putting the... Whoops!
Oh, Garry Scott, and he's made up a place.
It's an interesting way of doing it.
Well, here's Johnson now making his run down on the outside of Peter McKay, driving car number 7. He'll go in there as deep as he can and then try and pull back on the inside coming out of the turn. It's good if you've got a little more horsepower to play with, but they're so close, these cars. Forced to duck in again and get the wind assistance up the straight, but he's keeping the pressure on McKay, almost touching the wall there as they come out of the bend. Still a couple of laps left to run, heading up Bitchapave Hill again. Bowe, Grice, closer this time to the Dunlop Loop.
Actually, John Bowe's doing a great job of getting the Pulsar sideways. They are notorious understeerers, and he's doing a very handy job of manhandling it around the top of the loop. Must have figured out something that the others haven't.
Grice looks a little closer this time. Very close to Bowe, picking up the back wheel too as they come out of Honda corner.
Well, the only way Grice is going to get by is if Johnny Bowe makes a mistake, and he hasn't looked like doing so thus far.
He's got to get close enough to him, though, to be able to pressure him. And by close enough, I mean almost in the back of the car.
1 lap remaining.
Oh, little tangle back there behind. Fury's been involved in it. Looks like McKay has as well. Richards has got himself up involved with it, and Johnson might just be ahead of them. How close are they? John Bowe leading up Bitchapave for the final time, and Allan Grice getting very close indeed. Dick Johnson has made it up to third.
I don't know how he did that.
There was obviously that little scuffle down at the lake corner. And now coming out of the loop for the final time, John Bowe has done one heck of a job so far, but he'll have to close this racetrack up. Grice is quick through here and really getting it sideways coming out of the bend. Down and going to make the big charge under brakes. Oh, Gricey.
Oh, come on, Johnny Bowe.
Oh, he sent Grice off, and I think there's going to be big trouble over that one. Number 5 is ranging up quickly, Garry Scott, taking a run on Grice as they come down to the lake corner for the final time to the right-hander.
Johnson's back to 4th, Bowe 3rd, Scott 2nd, pressuring Grice for the lead.
There goes the bumper bar off the back of Grice's car as Garry Scott gets stuck into the back to Wonderlick corner for the last time. An amazing conclusion to this 6th lapper. I think it'll be Grice. Garry Scott nudges the wall. The checkered flag out. Grice the winner. Scott 2nd. John Bowe 3rd. Dick Johnson 4th. Peter McKay, George Fury, Jim Richards, Colin, Bond, Glenn Seton. Goodness me.
Well, the president of the ARDC showing them the quick way around the racetrack here today. Don't know whether he's going to get too many memberships with the tactics in the final corner. Let's take a recap. Allan Grice, the winner at this stage. 2nd place goes to Garry Scott. And 3rd, luckily, is John Bowe. And welcome back to Sydney's Amaroo Park Raceway as the cars move into position now prior to the start of Heat 2 of the Nissan Super Series. Of course, Heat 1 produced a few thrills this afternoon. Let's take a look at what happened with Allan Grice. Got a little aggressive on John Bowe coming down to Honda corner. A whop in the door or on the back guard. sends Bowe out in the direction of the photographers. Grice was able to pick it up and go on, and there's Alan Grice there. Inverted grid, of course, sees Geoff Portman off one. Masterton off the front row with him, then Seton and Rogers in the second row, Bond and Johnson in the third, Richards and Scott in the fourth, Grice and McKay in the fifth, and Fury and John Bowe in the sixth. Bowe.
Grice will have a bit of trouble winning it from back there this time.
Well, we'll see how good he is.
Yeah, and Grice leads the series too with 2:34 with now 10 seconds remaining prior to the start.
Now, this should be a good start. Geoff Portman and Steve Masterton on the front row. The flag is up. And it's down, and Masterton gets the best of it from Portman. Rogers moves up quickly. Then Johnson on the outside, and car number 7 coming up very quickly indeed. And Colin Bond has also made a lightning start. Oh, one, it could have been Portman there with a spotted bother, or is it Masterton?
Masterton, Mr. Gear.
Mr. Gear, and it's gone from first to last over the top and dropping
Portman's
down
in front.
to the Dunlop loop. Oh, there's number 3 upside down, and that is Peter McKay, but he is quite okay. He's hit the zebra tyres, conveniently positioned there to catch all Nissans. One Nissan is missing. I think I said that earlier.
Oh, God.
Into Dunlop loop.
There's
the
how it
replay.
happened.
He's got a touch from behind as well. From who? Will
Somebody's escaped there.
Well,
Very...
John Bowe that was, and Steve Masterton mixed up in there. So that's amazing. Oh, no, it's all happening.
holy
John Bowe
smoke.
goes out as a result of it. And is that
Steve
Garry Rogers?
Garry Rogers, rather, yeah.
Yeah, car number 5. Well, that's, what, 3 down, 9 to go. John Bowe, you kiss goodbye to $25,000 after that little exercise. And car number 9, Garry Rogers.
Well, there's 3 that have gone...
Oh, and car number 11, Steve Masterton, limping around as well. God, they're off left, right and centre. So,
Portman's in front.
Yep.
Colin Bond in second place.
Richards, I think, now up to third as they head up Bitcher Pave Hill again.
We'll have to watch the debris coming around this section of the track.
So Portman drops down in there nicely indeed. The other driver was involved was Glenn Seton, and the number 10 car, I think, that clipped the wall last time, but we'll pick up that for you a little later. There's the wreckage. I think the man with cardiac arrest at the moment would have to be Fred Gibson, the Nissan team manager, who I think is ready to put his resignation in. Whoever devised the series. Geoff Portman looking pretty good out there. Bond in second, Richards third, Grice is the next one through, and they were followed by Dick Johnson.
it's George
And
Fury.
Not a huge split over them as they go down to the lake corner. Through the bend, Portman hanging on.
Portman, the twice Australian rally champion in 1981 and 2. And behind him, a man who's also claimed that title before, Colin Bond. And so when you sit down and try and analyse this, I'd say that with Fury so far back in this one, and with Bond and Grice up here, and of course Grice doing battle with Richards, and Grice again looking good for the money at the end of this one. So Grice sneaks through on Richards, only just. Jim takes evasive action. And
Johnson in amongst those as well, wanting to pick up the pieces.
Well, he's had a bit of help, Grice, but he is up to third.
Yes, he's made a good run to third. Put him on top with points, providing the stewards don't want a replay of Heat 1. So Grice makes it up to third. Back behind him, Richards is fourth and Johnson is fifth as they come through Mazda corner down to the left-hander at Honda. Just look at them picking up the back wheels, and in particular car number 4, Alan Grice. Whether Grice can pull back any more spots from there, it will depend greatly on the pace being set at the front of the field here by Portman. Portman, Bond, Grice, Richards and Johnson. Seton, who of course was involved in the smash, still continuing on in the race.
And of course with Fury in 6th spot in the race, we've got 3 rally champions in the top half dozen. That kind of experience will come in handy out here today, the way things are going.
There's Bondy and Alan Grice right behind. Jim Richards getting plenty from Dick Johnson. There's Bond taking the rally championship in 71, 2 and 4. Fury in 77 and 80, and Portman in 81 and 82. So that just about covers the history of Australian rallying as they scathe by the wreckage at the top of the loop. Look at the way that Alan Grice punishes this poor little Nissan Pulsar. But the only way you can describe it, the front wheel folded under. Look at this, inside rear, off the deck by about 6 inches. Front right-hand guard all crumpled. And I'd say Alan Grice would be posting quickest lap time at the moment. In fact, I might try and get the watch on him.
Interesting you should say that, Neil, because in some of the shots you can notice, in fact, the first three cars going into the corners, you'll see that Grice hits the brake about 300ths of a second later than the other two, and thereby makes up that quarter of a car length on almost every sharp corner.
I noticed that with John Bowe.
He didn't touch the brakes that time.
Used him as an anchor. There's Glenn Seton looking for the Nissan repair tent.
It's good to see the thermo fan working.
You'll have to get in the waiting line.
Yes, he want to be first in. So Allan Grice has been the big mover again in Heat 2 this afternoon, still tailing Colin Bond as they go past the Rex down near Valvoline corner. Portman still in front. I think this will be Portman's first race win of the series.
They'll think this is Christmas. He hasn't been sighted up until now.
Oh, here's Bond leaning on the back of Bond, Grice rather, on the back of Bond as they come out of Honda corner, going down towards the lake with about 1 1/4 laps still to go.
I can't wait to read the colourful description written by Peter McKay after this race meeting. That'll be a fun one.
Portman leads, Bond, Grice, Richards and Johnson. That's the order. They're coming in to take the signal with 1 lap to go. Now, can Grice pull one of his last lap charges out of the suitcase? Let's wait and see. Sits right in behind Bond. Is he going to make a run down the outside? Yes, right at the last moment, and try and take him over the top and see if he can race him down to the next corner. Bond hangs on. Grice now tucks down on the inside, wants to get the run out of this corner. Look at Johnson setting up for the run as well.
Oh,
watch out for the parked cars, boys. That was close.
Grice really is getting very willing, isn't he?
Look at Richards. Richards got the short back and sides about 3 laps ago. I don't think he's forgotten it yet. Down to Honda corner for the final time. Portman goes through as they come out of the bend and go down towards the scrap is still continuing. Hands out the window.
Bond in second. Johnson's got up to third. He's got the best of Grice.
Whether or not he can hang on, Johnson, because that's where the action is. But Portman's going to come out of the last corner. Grice is making a run as well. So it'll be Portman across the wire, and he'll take it. Big cheers coming up from the crowd. Nissan executives have dropped off the railing. Bond takes second, Richards takes third, Grice is fourth, and Dick Johnson will take 5th place. Well, what a Nissan Super Series race here today. 2 heats. Confirmation of placings coming up. Geoff Portman, the winner. 2nd place going to Colin Bond, and 3rd place going to Jim Richards.
Since its launch, the Nissan Pulsar ET Turbo has received nothing but acclaim. Mike O'Connor, Brisbane Telegraph. One of the best value for money performance cars on the market.
Come alive!
Simon Hammer, Turbo Australia magazine.
Japanese technology plus Australian input equals an extra terrific Nissan. Come alive!
Pulsar ET Turbo at your Nissan dealer now.
Come alive! Come alive! Nissan!
Back at Amaroo Park, Geoff Portman looks a little white and shaken. Geoff, you thought rallying was rough and tough.
Yeah, I did. I wondered for a while there while there was no one out there behind me, but then I realised when I come around again, half the field was decimated.
I don't know whether, again, things happen so quickly out there, whether you were able to see the first lap incident over the top. Poor old Peter McKay, I can't wait to read his very colourful account of today's meeting.
I'm sure it'll be colourful. No, I didn't know anything about that until I came around and there the cars were.
Yeah, well, he had a little bit of a nudge and ended up over and up against those concrete-filled tyres. Not a nice place to be, but he's okay. It was really helter-skelter out there, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I'll be rushing home tonight to have a look at it on the telly, I think.
You've been a little bit back in the field in the rounds up to date. It was nice to see you holding pride of place for once.
Yeah, I thought that too myself. I thought you've been back there for long enough, and once you're out there, try and stay there.
Of course, Mr. Grice over here was very intent on not having things finished that way. You took the first heat today. You had to use a little bit of muscle to do it, though.
Oh, what a terrible thing to say.
Come on.
No, they're both good races. Unfortunate to see the damaged cars. There were the same sorts of damaged cars at Adelaide, which is only last week. And I think it should be said that the Nissan blokes that put the motor cars together in 1 week and got them here looking as good as they did Well, they surprised all of us. We really didn't think there'd be 12 cars here, but thank you very much on behalf of all the 12 drivers to the Nissan blokes for their great work.
You had to say that. I think you blokes are pulling the biggest con deal of all time on poor old Freddie Gibson.
Freddie who?
Listen, you not only win today's round overall, but you are now the overall leader in the series, and that $25,000 is looking very handy.
That's pleasant. I'm sure all my creditors heard it.